Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. G. Subbarao, working as a professor in Department of Civil Engineering at Nalla Narasimha Reddy Education Society's group of institutions. We are dealing with the Engineering Geology lab, and in today's class I am going to explain about the identification of sedimentary igneous rocks. So, the list of experiments as per the regulations include study of physical properties of common minerals, study of physical properties of economic minerals, megascopic identification of igneous rocks, sedimentary rocks and metamorphic rocks, and microscopic identification of rocks and minerals, and followed by the interpretation of geological maps and identification of symbols in the maps using Survey of India topo sheets, and also simple structural geology problems. In addition to all these experiments, I am going to explain about additional experiments such as description and engineering consideration of structural models and electrical resistivity methods. In today's session, I am going to speak about megascopic identification of igneous rocks. This is experiment number 3. So, in the megascopic identification of igneous rocks, we mainly discuss about color of the rock, texture of the rock, which include crystallinity, granularity, rock fabric, and mineral composition, which include essential minerals as well as accessory minerals. And we make a comment on origin of the rock, how a rock is originated, and the name of the rock. Finally, engineering properties and uses, if necessary, we mention the varieties of rocks. So this is the engineering geology experiment number 3, identification of igneous rocks. In today's session, I am going to speak about especially a few igneous rocks such as granite, dolerite, basalt, pegmatite, charnockite, rhyolite, kimberlite and gabbro. Still there are so many rocks. However, for the sake of knowledge point, these rocks are going to be discussed in today's session. So, if we see the color of the rock, so color of the rock can be mentioned as leucocratic, mesocratic, melanocratic. If you observe the picture, leucocratic, the rock is light or pale in color. How the lettering is, one can observe here, the sentence is in light in color, that is leucocratic. Melanocratic, if the rock is totally dark in color, if you see the slide, it is totally dark. Mesocratic, which is intermediate, I mean it is in between leucocratic and melanocratic. That means if the rock is medium color. The slide shows very clearly the difference among leucocratic, mesocratic and melanocratic. So, by seeing the rock under reflected light, we have to mention whether it is leucocratic, mesocratic or melanocratic. Of course, within the brackets, if interested, we can also mention the color of the rock. This is color. And coming to the next point is texture. The texture has been divided into 3 parts: crystallinity, granularity, rock fabric. Let us see the crystallinity. So, what is texture actually? The texture of a rock refers to the individual mineral grains of size, shape and mutual relations of mineral constituents and glassy matter if it is present in a rock. So this is called texture. That means texture of a rock always speaks about individual mineral grains of size, shape and mutual relationships of mineral constituents and glassy matter if it is present. So by studying the degree of crystallinity, granularity or grain size and growth of crystal or rock fabric reveals the texture of the rock. Let us discuss in detail about degree of crystallinity. So, degree of crystallinity. We can simply mention whether the rock is holocrystalline, holohyaline, hypocrystalline. What is the difference among these three terms? Holocrystalline means the rocks composed entirely of various minerals. All the minerals are occupied. If we see under petrological microscope, the rock has composed so many minerals. We can say the rock is exhibiting holocrystalline texture. Coming to holohyaline, rocks composed entirely of glass. So this, rock is composed of entirely glass. Hence, we can say the rock is exhibiting holohyaline texture. In another slide, the rocks which contain both mineral crystals and glass, then it is called as hypocrystalline. We can say the rock is exhibiting hypocrystalline texture. So this is hypocrystalline texture where there are a few minerals which are present and there is a glassy matter. That means hypocrystalline texture indicates a part of the rock is occupied by mineral grains and glassy matter. This is about texture. And granularity or else grain size. The grain size of rocks that have crystallized at a depth, at greater depths, then they may be medium grain or sometimes they may be coarse grain. So one has to remember that when we say that the minerals are medium grain or coarse grain means that indicates the rocks have crystallized, the minerals which are present in the rock are crystallized at a greater depth. Otherwise, the minerals which are crystallized at a shallow depth means we can say the rock is fine grain. So this is the difference between coarse grain and medium grain. Let us see the picture. The mineral grains are well sorted. So all the minerals are well sorted. Here in this picture, the minerals are poorly sorted. Whereas here, the minerals are unsorted and here they are graded. There is a pattern. This is called graded. So this is how, granularity and grain size reveal the texture of the rock. And the terminology which is usually used here, phaneric, means if the minerals are visible to the naked eye. In the field, if we collect the specimen, rock specimen, and we observe with our naked eye, so if the minerals are identified with our naked eye, then we can say that the rock is phaneric. And aphanetic means minerals are too fine. So with our naked eye, it is difficult to identify in the field. That means with the help of petrological microscope or a lens, we can identify, so that we can use the term aphanetic. Coarse grain, if minerals are more than 5 mm in size. Medium grain, if minerals are 2 mm to 5 mm in size. Fine grain, if the minerals are less than 1 mm in size, they are designated as fine grain. Equigranular, if the minerals are almost uniform in size, then we can mention that the equigranular rock. Inequigranular, if minerals are not equal, that means not uniform. So this is the terminology which is used in identification of rocks. And the other one is growth of crystals or rock fabric in the texture. So fabric is the shape and mutual relationship among the rock constituents. Euhedral. Euhedral refers the mineral grains are bounded by faces. Anhedral, the mineral faces are absent. That means it is called as anhedral. So there will be no face developed here. Subhedral, that means the mineral grains are partly bounded by some faces and partly with the absence of faces. That's why subhedral. So growth of crystals or rock fabric indicates the shape and mutual relationship among the rock constituents, and the terms are designated as euhedral, subhedral and enhedral. Now, if we study the rock in hand specimen, or else if we study the rock under petrological microscope, usually we find so many minerals. Among the minerals, these are some of the important minerals which can seen in almost all igneous rocks. Let us have a glance. Alkali feldspars. Alkali feldspars is a group of minerals in which we can find albite, anorthoclase, cyanidin, orthoclase, microclase. These minerals sometimes can be identified under petrological microscope, otherwise can be identified with the help of X-ray, fluorescence spectrophotometer. And quartz is always dominant. And coming to plagioclase feldspars, which include albite to anorthite, mica group, which includes muscovite, biotite, phlogophyte. Pyroxene group of minerals include hypersthene, augite, azurine, diopside, jadeite, anorthite. Amphibole group of minerals include hornblende, actinolite, tremolite, gronrite, glaucophane and ribakite. Whereas iron oxides include magnetite, hematite, and garnet group of minerals include almandite, pyro, spessartite, andronite, uberovite, grossular. And sometimes we can find ferromagnesium minerals such as olivines, pyroxenes, amphiboles, micas. These are called as ferromagnesium minerals, and zircon, apatite, chlorite, talc may appear sometimes. So these are some of the minerals which present in the igneous rocks when we study. So at least a few may be occupied in the rocks of igneous. Coming to the specimen, for example, if we study the specimen, this is called granite. So the granite is marked as I1 or 1I. I stands for igneous rock, 1 is the sample code. This is granite and color is leucocratic. That means we can say whitish or whitish red or pale reddish white. And texture, so crystallinity, holocrystalline, that means all the minerals are composed, coarse grained. Yes, minerals are identified under the petrological microscope as well as with the help of lens. And rock fabric is euhedral to subhedral, and the rock consists of essential minerals which include alkali feldspars, plagioclase feldspars, quartz, mica. Whereas some of the acer minerals which are always present in granite, which include zircon, apatite, hornblende, hypersthene and augite. Coming to the origin of the rock granite. So granite is a plutonic acidic igneous rock. It occurs as an intrusive, you can say maybe as a dike or sill or batholith, and it is extended to few meters to kilometers in length. And coming to the engineering properties and uses of granite, granite has very good appearance with good strength and durability. This is one of the hardest, strongest and beautiful natural rock, comes in numerous colors and patterns. Granite serves as a good rock for foundation. Granite can be used as road metal, and with the help of granite we can make statues, and this can be used for making temples. So many temples are made with the help of granite, and granite is utilized as a primary building stone. So granites can be used for flooring tile, because it's lost for a number of years and it is a strain-proof rock. And there are varieties in granite. We can say biotite granite. That means if the mineral biotite is dominant, we can say it is biotite granite. Hornblende granite. When hornblende is dominant, we can say it is hornblende granite. Tourmaline granite. That means tourmaline is more and more in the rock, hence it is called as tourmaline granite. These are some of the varieties. Of course, there is another variety which is called as charnockite, is hypersthene variety. So hypersthene dominate in the charnockite, hence it is called as charnockite. Coming to the next rock, that is dolerite. So dolerite is a mesocratic color, that means black in color, somewhat medium in color. That is why it is mentioned as mesocratic. If we feel it is totally black, we can mention it as melanocratic. And crystallinity, holocrystalline, because it is composed of so many minerals and grains are fine grained, so it is very difficult to identify the grains, hence it is fine grained. Rock fabric is euhedral to subhedral. And essential minerals, the dolerite consists of plagioclase feldspars, olivine and ferromagnesium minerals with small amounts of quartz. So quartz is less in quantity. And coming to acer minerals, magnetite, biotite, hornblende, quartz are recorded as acer minerals. And the origin is, it is an intrusive igneous rock, occurs as dikes and sills. Whereas the dolerite, its code number is mentioned at 2I or I2. This is a dolerite rock and this is the contact zone. One can see this is a granite, this is dolerite and this is a contact zone. So if we see this is granite, if we see like this is dolerite, so this is a contact zone. So dolerite is an intrusive igneous rock, occurs usually as dike running a few kilometers to several kilometers. And this dolerite is suitable as railway ballast and bitumen aggregate, concrete material. It can be used as a road material. So varieties. So diabase is a variety in dolerite, so which has basaltic composition. So when we see the another rock that is called as basalt. So this is the basalt. You can see some of the pores or openings. These are called as vesicles and the rock is designated as 3I or I3. So this is the specimen which is melocratic, that means black in color, and holocrystalline because it is composed of so many mineral grains, and it is fine to medium grain. Some of the minerals are present. One can see there is a mineral which is called as quartz here, and otherwise it is difficult to identify the remaining minerals. And we can find plagioclase feldspars, pyroxenes as essential minerals in basalt. Coming to acer minerals, basalt consists of magnetite, biotite, hornblende, nepheline, quartz or olivine. So the basalt is originated from volcanic extrusive rock. Itself is a product of partial melting of peridotite. The engineering properties of basalts are highly durable, strongest, which receives highest load bearing capacity. Basalt is used as a building stone, and basalt can be considered very good for tunneling since it does not require any sort of lining, and diabase is also a common variety which is a basaltic composition. So diagnostic features, sometimes the basalts has very distinctive weathering pattern known as onion skin. So that is not seen in these pictures. Sometimes it can be identified in the field. And coming to the next igneous rock is pegmatite. So the specimen pegmatite is designated as I4. I stands for igneous, 4 is the specimen code. So the color of the rock is mesocratic and it is somewhat black and whitish or whitish black, holocrystalline, that means it has so many minerals and coarse grained, and pegmatite is an igneous rock formed with interlocking crystals. The pegmatite usually consists of quartz, feldspar, mica. These are the dominated minerals, and spodumene has lithium, so lithium occurs in the pegmatites. So lithium has so many uses. Lithium can be used in the batteries, cells. So along with the spodumene, topaz, tourmaline, beryl also occurs in pegmatites. So pegmatite minerals are large in size and the rock mass cannot behave uniform throughout. So the presence of mica has excellent cleavages, obviously makes the rock weak. So if the mica is present in more and more, so the rock becomes weak. Otherwise, if the mica is very less, which occurs as acer minerals, then it may work as the strongest rock. So the presence of pegmatites is usually unsuitable to be used as a building stone and also undesirable at the site of foundation for major constructions such as dams and reservoirs. Sometimes rare minerals of cassiterite, mispickel, niobium, tantalum are also present. Hence, pegmatites are always economically very, very important. So coming to the next igneous rock, charnockite. As I told that charnockite is a variety in the granite which consists of hypersthene mainly. So it is designated as I6 or 6I. So mesocratic color, that is blackish in color, holocrystalline, composed of so many minerals, coarse grained, inequigranular, the mineral grains are not equal, and the essential mineral consists of quartz, potash feldspars, especially microcline, and pyroxene mineral, that is hypersthene. So hypersthene is dominant in charnockite. So origin, crystallization of magma at greater depths under extreme pressure conditions, charnockite forms. Charnockites are massive in nature, compact and can be used as road metal, building stone, and it's a good railway ballast. It's a good rock for foundation in case of dam. So this is a variety of granite, charnockite. Next one is rhyolite. So rhyolite is designated as I7 or 7I, mesocratic in color. The color is somewhat pale reddish color and hypocrystalline, fine grained, inequigranular. It consists of quartz, potash feldspars, pyroxenes, biotite iron oxides. This is an acid volcanic igneous rocks resulting from lava. So this is not useful for civil engineering works. However, sometimes this can be used as a road metal. So spillite, trachyte, dacite are the varieties in rhyolite. And coming to the another igneous rock is kimberlite, which is mentioned as I8. So this is the kimberlite, melocratic, that means dark in color, coarse grained, inequigranular. One can see the grains are with various sizes, big size, very big size, medium, small. That means inequigranular texture. So this kimberlite consists of mainly chlorite, talc, carbonates, olivine, garnet. Acer minerals include phlogophyte, pyroxenes, ilmenite. Kimberlite occurs in the earth crust in vertical structures known as kimberlite pipes. Formation occurs at depths between 150 to 450 kilometers depth, and kimberlite is not useful for civil engineering works. However, sometimes can be used as a road metal, and economically the kimberlite is a very, very important rock because this is the source for diamonds. So wherever the kimberlite pipes are identified, certainly where we can get the diamonds. So kimberlite is the rock, igneous rock, which is a source for diamonds. So this is about the identification of igneous rocks. So thank you, thanks to one and all.